Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be painting up the Seekers of Slaanesh from the Daemons of Slaanesh starting box set. I've already assembled them, primed them in the same way I've always done, I just forgot to get the picture of it. But I'm going to start off with the pre-coating. So with Eshin Grey, Ulthuan Grey, White Scar White, and Lamian Medium, we're going to do the undercoating. So I used Eshin Grey, I used an airbrush to apply this first layer. You could easily just brush it on. Then with an airbrush I used Ulthuan Grey and I primed from downward to add the light. And then with White Scar White, I dry brushed. Now I actually was able to pick up some new dry brushes from the Army Painter, and they worked really well. Like, picked out every single little fold and detail on the models. Wonderful stuff. And then I took White Scar White mixed with a little bit of Lamian and painted straight lines on parts of the daemonettes, parts of open muscle on the Seekers, and stuff like that. Places where we want some straight lines. Now, with Xerxes Purple diluted with Lamian Medium, sort of a 1-to-1-ish, we create a wash and we apply it to the scales and upper skin of the Seekers, and a little bit going onto their legs because some of them have scales going on down there. And now with Celestia Grey and Lamian Medium, we're going to do sort of a 1-to-1-ish wash and apply it to the skin, the underside of their bellies and such for the Seekers. Alright, now that we added the highlights and everything and the bright colors, we're going to add the depth. So with magenta and black oil paint, softened up a little bit with paint thinner. We're not making a wash, we're making a paint. So this is mostly magenta with a little bit of black mixed in. It's very strong, and then we're going to paint this paint over their scales, their upper skin and such. And then once it dries a little bit, we're going to, well, not really a little bit, we're just going to immediately wipe it off with sponges and stuff. Keep swapping out the sponges and stuff to make sure you can able to quickly, properly clean it. And then we're going to take a lamp black and we're going to create a wash of this and apply it to their legs and bodies. And then we're going to wipe the excess off there. And then all of a sudden, now we have lots of good shadow. And now with Xerxes Purple, Gene Sealer Purple, and Lamian Medium, we're going to paint the horns. So basically just Xerxes Purple, just painting all their little nails and horns that they come out, not on the face, I'm not going to bother with that. And then with Gene Sealer Purple diluted with Lamian Medium, to make it a bit see-through, we're going to apply around 2 coats onto the nails. One covering like 2/3 of the thing, and then a second coat covering the last third. Because it's diluted with Lamian Medium, the color transition will be pretty smooth. And then finally we just pure Gene Sealer Purple, I'll just paint their tongues this. And then with pure Emperor's Children, we're going to paint these fins. Almost all of them have it. Some have it in more places than others. Some of them also have hair, like on their, like a mane. We're painted that as well. And with a very watered down version of it, I'll apply it onto the tongues to create some nice color transition. You have to water it down a lot for that. Alright, and with magenta and mineral spirits, we're going to create a wash, a pretty thin wash, and we're going to apply it to everything we painted with Emperor's Children, the fur, the fins, and stuff. And we do around 2 coats of that. However, on the second coat, I decide, you know what, the colors are off on the gray bodies, need a little bit more flavor, so I just applied a wash over the entire model of the Seekers, and it spruced some things up. And then you can just wipe some stuff off with a sponge later to add more highlights. Some of the gray skin was a little dull in areas, and this really spruced it up. And then with Mournfang Brown and Lamine Medium, we mix them together to make a wash. We then apply it to their seats and the leather straps around the area. One note though, because there's some mineral spirits around the area still a bit fresh, it'll be a little hard for the paint to adhere, so you're going to have to apply it a few times. Alright, with the mix of Ulthuan Grey Air, Cadian Fleshtone, and matte varnish mixed in to make it a little more translucent and maintain sort of a good viscosity so that it's not like a super thin wash or stuff, we then apply this all over the daemonette's skin. 1 coat. Well, if you get the thickness right. And then with Daemonette Hide and Lamine Medium turned into a wash, or mixed sort of 1-to-1-ish, we apply it to all their hair. Alright, now with Nagaroth Knight and sort of 1-to-1-ish with Lamine Medium to turn into a wash, we apply it to all their claws. And so a difference from the previous kit is I wanted it to be darker. I made a mistake with that, or I perceive it as a mistake. So I wanted their claws, their highlight, to be even darker. Alright, with magenta, and I don't know why I had the black there, but I didn't use it. So magenta, we're going to create a magenta wash, and we're going to apply it onto the models. Now, here's basically how it works for the daemonette. So I'm going to apply 1 coat to their hair, let it dry, and then I'm going to wipe it off with a sponge. This creates the most deep shadows. It's just the way this thing works. And then I'm going to apply a 2nd coat onto the hair as well as the whole body. And so essentially what I do is I apply 2 coats entirely. I apply 2 to the hair, 2 to the body, because these coats are very thin. It's just the way it cakes on and dries. And then I wipe the excess off with a sponge for just random places. And for a final bit, I take a brush with mineral spirits mixed in. I basically think of it like dry brushing. Or what I'm doing is I'm scraping off a lot of the excess of the wash onto the most prominent areas, so it's very bright there, and so the shadows are more clear. And you can apply this in other places to sort of manage the washes. If you do this on your own, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But essentially, 2 coats of the thin wash, wipe with sponge, then wipe with mineral spirits on a brush, and if you're cautious with how you do it, you'll get it. It's hard to explain. This is something you actually have to do. Okay, now with the black. Magenta with a little bit of black mixed into a paint with a little bit of the mineral spirits just to make it flow better, and we apply it onto the claws, and then we wipe it off immediately. Now these claws will be much darker than the previous daemonettes. Consider it an upgrade. If you're riding, you have slightly different gear or look different. And then I went back with a bit of magenta and made it into a paint, and then just applied it onto some random areas because some of the daemonettes have like these scales and stuff on their feet and stuff. I wanted to keep this consistent with the previous kit that I painted. So I applied some and then wipe it away with the sponge and stuff so it's like dark patterns here and there. Alright, now with black, magenta, and white, we're going to paint the banner. So the banner already has a basic layer of magenta on it, and then wiped away with the brush, and it creates this base layer that is malleable. And so basically what I do is I mix black and white with the magenta in different places, and then I just apply it in lines, and then I blend it in with another brush. And this is my second chance of really trying to play with oils as they're supposed to be oils. Mixed results and stuff, but it creates a better looking banner, I feel. It feels more lively, like there's more depth to it, even though there's nothing on it, and this color is just there. It looks cool, I guess. The brush strokes are there, and you can kind of see it, and it adds some depth. And now with Mournfang Brown and Lamine Medium, we're going to apply it onto the corsets of all the daemonettes. And now with Burnt Umber and Mineral Spirits, we're going to create a wash and apply to the corsets and to the leather seats of the Seekers. This is just going to add some extra shadow and depth into it. And now with Xerxes Purple, Genestealer Purple, and a full thing of Lamine Medium, we're going to paint the horns on the daemonettes just like we did with the Seekers. Xerxes Purple base, Genestealer Purple diluted with Lamine Medium, 2 coats of that on there so it has a transition, and done. And then with Thondia Brown and Pallid Witch Flesh, we're going to paint their eyeshadow and eyes. So with Thondia Brown, with just pure water down a lot, fill in their eyes to create the eyeshadow, and fill in their mouths to create the depth. And then with Pallid Witch Flesh, water down with water, we're going to apply tap 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 onto the eyes as best we can. You're going to have to do probably 2 coats of this in there. It's a little risky. And then, of course, on their teeth, which is just painting like straight lines. Their teeth are so small, but they are noticeable. Okay, now a quick moment. Now, the banner part of the banner is done, not the pole. But here's the thing. I did so much nice work with the brushworks, I wasn't going to risk trying to scribble something Slaanesh-y on it and ruin it. So this is more of a limit of my own ability. If I wanted to scribble something on it, what I should have done first is sort of scribble a base layer or a base image on there. I could have taken like a contrast paint, a dark contrast paint, because it's very flowy and very thin. I could just paint a quick outline of something, a symbol or something. And then with that done being filled in, I could then do the oil paints around there. So this was a poor choice on my end for the order. Second of all is like, as it is now, I was feared that I would only screw it up. So I had no real idea of what to put on there, and even if I did, I should have done it before I did the oil paints part. So that's just FYI. In the future, probably be able to do better, more planning, because like, I rarely get banners. Like, they're very rare. Like, I've almost never painted them. So it's like, you learn by doing and by expanding, and like, it did not occur to me until it was too late to put something on there. And then with AK Interactive, my bread and butter, I apply this varnish all over. I don't know about protection, I've never actually banged these things or models before, but it does do a good thing of getting rid of all gloss or shine, and so I appreciate what it does to the appearance of the paint. Alright, and then with Runefang Steel Air, get the air one, never get the regular one, that one's garbage, mixed with Liquitex Black Ink and Liquitex Gloss Varnish. So the Gloss Varnish is very important for keeping the metals a shiny luster. and also helping with the consistency and flow, because the ink really makes it watery, the paint. And so we're going to apply this as our metal. So it's going to be a nice silvery metal. It's something to mix. I had a little more black into it so that there'd be more depth, and so the lighter would be lighter and the deep parts would be darker. And then with transparent raw sienna, I dropped in a few drops of this into the paint mix I already had with the black and silver, and I just applied it to, well, the jewelry. Essentially, the Seekers have these ankle bracelets, and the the daemonettes all have chokers, necklaces, some have earrings, some have some jewelry or stuff like that. They all have armbands, and so I used this to paint that. And done, or as done as the amount of time I'm willing to put into it. So there are a few things you can do if you want to bring it further. So you can apply a second coating of paint onto the legs of the Seekers if you want highlights and stuff to take it to the next level. However, when I applied the pink wash or the magenta wash over to the Seekers entirely, that kind of got rid of the need of it, but it could still be there. And basically what you could just add some highlights here and there on the daemonette skin and stuff like that, but I'm not at that level where I can really gauge the correct color I need to apply after the oil paints have gone on, so that's an experiment for another time. And the marble bases are really hard to do. It's not to mention designing and printing these. These suckers took me like 5 prints to get right. Lots of random crap happening. And overall, the final assembly, they're all super glued together, but so one thing I'm going to point out, these Seekers have really tiny ankles, and the ground that they attach on is very tiny. I wanted to pin these models, but I couldn't guarantee that I could do it without screwing it up, or there's so little room you can really penetrate through that it's more likely that there'll only be this tiny little nub of a space for you to fill in. Essentially, I don't really think you can accurately pin these models as they are, so hopefully you'll have to be gentle. I mean, if you bang them against a wall or throw them across the room, of course they're going to break, but don't manhandle them too hard. They're weaker than other models I've produced simply because it's just I can't really pin them. Well, overall, as far as painting goes, I'm going to give them, a 9 out of 10. They look great. Let's be real. The Seekers look great. The oil painting, the highlighting, the pre-shading and stuff I did looks great. It brings out every single detail. Every single scale is clear and prominent. The daemonettes, not necessarily blend in, but are you can spot them out from a distance. They look distinctly different. Their color tone is obviously different. You can see their legs and clearly distinguish their legs, and the Seekers' legs, they don't blend in. All parts of their bodies are distinct and clear from a distance, from across the table, which is where you would mostly use them. And the marble bases look really, really good, despite how long it took me to get them right, and the amount of times I've had to repaint them as well. So overall, a 9 out of 10, really good stuff for a basic unit of troops, but I've spent too much time on these guys. Alrighty then, so like the video if you like the video, share it if you want to share it, and more to come. I don't know, I always say hopefully sooner, but it's never the case. Poor time management on my part, but alright, see you when I see you. Bye.